Everybody, welcome, welcome, welcome. Look at Fast and Furious. Get your notepads and papers out, pens out. There is going to be a lot of good information, as always, with our calls on Monday night. And, hey, first, let me just give a good shout out and a big thanks to Melissa Wilder Peters, dear friend, somebody I've had the pleasure to work with for, over 20 years now. And just really excited about her new role, Vice President of Sales and Associate Development. She has been just a tremendous leader in the field, as well as on the corporate side in respect to, working with the field. And, one of the things I'll ask her to share too, as I've seen in my travels, is just, some of the energy that is around the meetings today, finally back in person, getting past some of this Zoom stuff, post-COVID, getting back together, just a lot of good energy. I think all of us understand, our best business is in person. Our best business, if you take a look at your Wealth Builders tracking forums, your personal daily achievement, things that we talk about, is in person. It's not the Zooms don't work. It's not the three-way calls don't work. It's not that other aspects of our business don't work. They do, but the results we get when we're actually in person is even stronger than anything else. So also Gus Hill, one of our engineers in IT, is with us tonight, and we'll go out to Gus. I haven't met Gus. Gus, thank you for joining. Melissa, thank you for taking time out of your schedule, both of you, to join the call tonight. Melissa, I want to go out to you right away, and maybe just a couple of things. Just a short kind of burst around just some of the energy you're seeing as you're out there in your travels. I am referring everybody to that sales mastery class. Just the ability to just sharpen the sword, get our head around the wording, get our head around the language that we have with the tremendous benefits that come from our legal and identity theft plans. I won't get into that now, but more importantly, maybe you could just spend a couple of minutes talking about the benefits and features. In my eyes, we are best in class service with identity theft. I don't need to talk about the legal plan. There is no competition when it comes to our legal plan. In my eyes, there's competition, but there really isn't competition. But our focus tonight on the identity theft, some of the just benefits and features, and then, Melissa, kind of what you're seeing maybe on just some of the process and protocols of properly getting people signed up. And then we'll go out to Gus for a minute because, Melissa, we were on a call together not too long ago with issues that I'm getting a lot of calls on not understanding really what the authentication process is, how we really need to match what's on another person's credit report, and how we can maybe alleviate the errors and the headaches that we're having to call in three-way in our members or our member associates in. So just kind of streamlining the process. Any thoughts you have for the team there? Anyhow, I threw a lot at you. Melissa, great to have you. Thanks for spending a few minutes with the team tonight. Appreciate you. And let's just start with you before we pop over to Gus.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, John. It's great to be on the team call here this evening. It is a little late here in the East Coast, but when Mr. Hoffman asked you to help out, of course, you're going to jump on it and help out. So I'm really honored to be here with your team, John. So we have a lot going on. Yes. By the way, the tour that myself and Mr. Darnell self are doing right now is electrifying. If you haven't been out to one of the events, please get out to one of the events. The way that we're talking about our business today, the way we're explaining what's happening with our business today, the posture that people are leaving out of that event is amazing. I do have to say, me and Darnell are pretty direct in our trainings, in our presentations, unapologetically, because today it's time for us really to brag about who we are. We don't have to ask anybody's opinion anymore, family. We're proven. We know who we are. We're best in class with anything that we do. No company is perfect, right? And as a growing company, we are going to have some hiccups, but I can tell you that nobody can touch what we're doing today. And so I really hope that you get out and listen to some of the information that we're sharing and open up your minds to a bigger picture of what we have, because you tremendously have a huge opportunity with the full wheel. It's not just about just helping people with just their family or just their business, or just us recruiting them. We can sell to more, we can build to more if we know more. And you don't have to do it. The systems are in place. We're building more and more systems, John, and another time we can talk about that. But, I know tonight's topic is ID Shield. And, some months back, we did change over to a new platform, okay? And we had to change to a new platform. That's why we went through that Reimagine app while our app was under construction. But the only way for us to actually grow our identity theft product to what's happening today, we have a few other things, additional things that are launching soon. So you can start really understanding why we changed. It was really so we could add more to the platform. We needed more accessibility, more controllability, more features and opportunities to grow and keep up with the need of what's happening in the world of identity theft. And so we got through that. The problem was that when we went back to our original app, okay, excuse me, when we went back to our original app, what we did not prepare our associates for, what we should have done a better job for, is to let them know that not all features were able to be, those that were already activated, right, had all their bells and whistles set up. Now, I do have to tell you, we have a lot of members, but a small percentage of them are really completely set up on activation, okay? And so we want to encourage people to really get there today. We can't protect them unless they're really activated. And so when we rolled it over, some of the things to most definitely to include our financial monitoring, whatever we had in there regarding our finances, right? That information, technically, we could not transfer. It just was something that we were not permitted to do because of security purposes. And we should have been stronger in our communication about our members should be excited about going to a new platform where we can expand additional benefits soon to come. There will be things that transfer over, and there will be some things that won't. And it's for their own security. It's not because we lost their data, because I know that that was kind of a point of concern with some of our members that, hey, wait a second, my data was there and now my data is not there. What did you all do with it? We didn't do anything with it. It just was not able to be transferred because of their own security, right? Based on what we could or could not transfer. So if you yourself have not went in and activated all your bells and whistles, I asked you to do that. If you actually had stuff in there, but then you didn't transfer over to the new app yet, I asked you to get the new app on your phone. It actually went back to the original app just under the new platform. And make sure all of your stuff is there. Experience it. The best way to be able to communicate this with your members is for us to do it as well. You don't have to remember instructions if you know the experience, if you've actually went through the journey yourself. So in doing so, we were able to add a few additional things from the onset. We were able to, of course, to lift the limit of 10. We were able to increase our 1 million to our 3 million, which is a big deal for us to stay competitive with other companies that were offering more than the 1 million. Today, I think the way that we need to describe this is that identity theft doesn't manifest itself in just financials. It doesn't manifest itself in just credit. It manifests itself in so many ways. Therefore, you have to have an identity theft product that can basically monitor your digital DNA. All the information that's out there in some capacity, it has to be monitored to really be proactive. And John, if we don't currently have it today, I can tell you we're working on getting more monitoring today, but we have one of the most robust monitoring programs. We hit almost every area of life, every aspect of their life, if you will, bits and pieces. People say to me all the time, well, do they monitor home title fraud? Well, that's fraud, number one. And number two, we don't have a specific thing we just count on one thing. We do it holistically, and we monitor court records and public records, things of which would actually show that activity was trying to take place or has taken place for us to actually catch things on the front end. That's just an example of not locking ourselves into a box of one area of fraud or one area of identity theft. The other thing that really is important for us to talk about is how we monitor the dark web, family. We scroll the dark web. It sounds scary because it is scary. And that's where people buy and sell bits and pieces of your information. And that's really important to be very diligent and proactive in. So I always let people know we're monitoring your digital DNA. Listen, only activate the stuff in your app that you want us to monitor, right? Because people say, do I have to put all that in? No, not unless you want us to monitor it, right? That's my way of saying, listen, we can't monitor if you don't tell us the information. But the second thing that we have to really be proud and I want to say boast about is the fact that we give now programs and features to monitor our devices that give the thieves access to our data. So if we have virus issues in our computers or our cell phones or our tablets, right? If there's a virus, if there's malware that's been placed within our devices, we have our Trend Micro, right? The cloud-based technology that's scanning these devices for that activity. So we can make it known so that we can correct the problem. So every time you're doing a keystroke, they're not watching you. We also do, of course, the VPN. So it's built in. People pay $29, $39 a month for virus protection, for malware protection. That's built into our program. So not only are we watching our physical, right, our digital DNA, we now also are protecting the devices that give the criminals access to that information. And of course, we know that if a professional thief steals your good name, you're going to need a professional to restore it. And John, having somebody just sign a power of attorney, a limited power of attorney, so we can do the work. They focus on life. They focus on their job. They focus on their family. We focus on the crime. And we don't stop till we get them back to pre-theft status, and identity theft related losses are covered by the $3 million program for about $1 a day. So we don't have to get into all the details, but we can talk holistically and boast about what we do within that package, because we take multiple things that other companies sell individually and we bundle it within this one program. Now, in transferring to this new platform, and Gus can correct me if I say something slightly maybe not perfect, because I'm not an IT person, but I've been in all these discussions. I truly believe, because coming from the sales field, right? I'm an associate too. I have a corporate hat, but I'm an associate too. Communication is huge. And I think that what we need to get better at is explaining when we transfer, when we do different things, what are our best practices? What are some of the things that we personally need to be prepared to know for ourselves and our family, our protection, but also to be able to talk to our clients about, be able to maybe even talk to the business owners about, or if you do group, to the decision makers about, and get in front of it. Listen, because we're growing, because we're actually putting in more features into our ID Shield product, we had to transfer the platform. And in order to do that, there's going to be some information that unfortunately just didn't transfer. And so what we need for your members to do, for our members to do, is go in the app and look at every category. And if they see, especially in their financials, right, in their financials category, to re-enter that information. Now, we also transferred credit repositories. We're with Experian. And so we now have to authenticate through Experian, okay, to be able to access the information that we're trying to access. So some of the best practices that we as associates need to know, okay, is when they complete the application, read back their social if you have time. It's easy to transpose a number, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing is make sure that their legal name, the name that's on their social security number, the name that's on their driver's license, is the name on our application. It's just part of the process. It could stop us from authenticating who they are to give them access to their monitoring. So make sure that their legal name, whatever is on their driver's license, whatever's on their social security card, what's on their checking accounts, right, that's the name that they have on the application. If they go by Bob, but their social security number says Robert, we need Robert, okay? The second thing is that when we authenticate, we have to authenticate with a real physical address. Many of us use post office boxes, and we do that for security issues and or otherwise, but we need physical addresses. So make sure that they put down the physical address. Use personal email addresses. Do not use work-related email addresses. So for instance, I would use thewilderways@gmail versus melissapeters@pplsi.com, because melissapeters@pplsi.com is not physically attached to me as a person, but the Wilder Ways would be. It could be one of those things that could be authenticated. So make sure that you're using personal email addresses. Use personal cell phones, personal phone numbers, not the work-related numbers. And then, John, we found out something else that's pretty interesting, is that if you have a special character in your name, meaning like you're O'Leary or Malley, or, so you have an apostrophe, or if you have a hyphenated, okay? In that situation, leave a space, okay, in the authentication process. Don't put the special character. So these little tips that Gus and team and Teresa Hellmeyer and team have really been working on figuring out what's going to give us the best experience for authenticating and activating. What they're doing is they're taking those little tips and we're going to put them on the activation sheet so that when you have the activation about going into login.legalshield.com or access.legalshield.com, they're both the same. They both route into the same place, that we have those special tips so that we're making sure that our members' experience is the best experience they can have. Let me see if I've missed anything else. Okay, something else. So when we go into the activation part of it, John, and we're doing the financials, if their routing number, let's say for instance, if they see their bank number, but their routing number is all zeros, ask them to re-enter their routing number. There has been some times where our members have went back in and all the routing numbers are zero. And so I know they're correcting on that. Gus might be able to speak a little bit more about that, but we want them to re-enter their routing number. That's really important. Then the KBA questions, the authentication questions. So when our members have been potentially failing, those authentication questions, like when you go in and say, what was the first color of your car? Did you ever live at this address? Which one of these addresses did you live in, right? Or live at, if any? It's trying to match up things within our credit score, our credit report, that's who we are. If there's something that we don't get right and it fails, okay, instead of calling into our customer care team, which we were instructing before, and then we're asking some questions that can be really strange questions, what's going to happen in this process is the team is working on right now, this week, turning on something called fallback authentication. And what that means is, so if you fail your KBA questions 2 or 3 times, you're going to be asked for your email, and that's why your personal email is important, and phone number. And what they're going to do is we're going to send you an email or a text to give you a one-time password for your authentication. So therefore, instead of calling in the customer care and now somebody else is going to ask you some strange questions, you don't even know who this person is. It's going to be the same way like when I log into my bank, I try to log in 2 times there and say, hey, you got an issue. Do you need to reset your password? Do you need us to send you an email? Do you need us to send you a text? That's what we're going to do here to try to help with the authentication process, to help that member a whole lot easier. So I'm going to stop there, John, see if I've addressed most of the things you asked, and see if there's any other questions I can answer, and then maybe we can bring Gus in to answer some of the IT side of it. You're on mute. I'm sorry.
I don't know who's muting me, so I'm the host, people. Melissa, hey, listen, fantastic. I mean, this is a ton of really, really good information. So here's kind of a first question. With Teresa and the team, when do you think we can get like a best practices flyer? In other words,
Yeah.
You covered so much. And I mean, there's a gold mine right here. We should, if I'm gonna go see 10 people about identity theft and the legal plan, I should be 10 for 10. Simply because of just two things you gave me here. I understand trend micro, I understand the dark web, I understand the digital DNA and stuff like that. I don't think most people do, but I mean, there's no cost. I mean, people are already paying for McAfee anyhow. So from a best practices perspective, or a deck or a flyer that we can get out to the masses for kind of what we're going through. Here's the process, and here's some of the things you said. Any idea when we can potentially see that? I know they're working on it.
They are. As a matter of fact, what I was just reading from was actually the information that Teresa sent me on the talking points. So they are.
Okay.
She even sent me over kind of an illustration of what the activation flyer will look like with some of those additional points that I was just talking about, John.
Okay. All right. Fantastic. And Melissa, I know you're a big part of that, so I want to thank you for what you're doing on behalf of the field. Melissa, another part too, just and we can go to Gus here as well. Is should we start people slowly and then maybe engage them with all the other information? I mean, let's just get the authentication process. Let's just get them in. And then maybe we come back with the financials. Maybe we come back with the other stuff, or just, any thoughts there?
Yeah, there's a lot for a brand new person to, if they really want all the bells and whistles, there's a lot for them to enter in, right? There
Right.
really is a lot of data. And so I think it's something, and I've talked to Teresa about this, that maybe we identify in steps, right? That, sometimes we're all different. And some of us maybe are more concerned about our financial accounts, where some of us are more concerned about, our credit report. I don't know. Some of us are more concerned. I mean, I can't tell you how many associates will tell me about how much they love the sex offender, alerts or whatever. So I think that there is a way for us to actually say, here are the different areas of activation, and you take it in your priority, you take it in your preference.
They're good.
But the most foundational things would be these certain things. So I think it's a great idea, John. I do.
And Melissa, you said something I think that's very powerful for everybody is, sometimes people can feel that maybe we're a little bit intrusive. And what they're not understanding is that, you enter and we can monitor. So the reason we're asking the questions we ask is because if you give it to the experts, then we'll monitor. So it's not like we're trying to be invasive. And so I think the wording there, Melissa, before I go over to Gus here, you and I have had this discussion maybe for 15, 20 years, and I can't tell you how excited I am to hear about the tour, because, I think we probably got, if not the largest business solutions organization in the company, one of the largest. And I've had an emphasis from the day I came on board to be that full service associate, because I never know who's sitting in that biz op meeting, that executive luncheon. I don't know who they are. And if a Melissa Wilder is in that group, and and then maybe a Cliff Malloy is in that group, and I've got a chance to talk about the differentiator in Legal Shield. And for the Shield Nation team, I want you all to kind of, I'm going to reiterate this, but this is critical tonight to get this in your head, without me being real diplomatic and saying just get it in your head, is understand that in that meeting, I'm going to discuss how we can make a significant living just marketing memberships, how we can leverage and build a team. But then for those who might want to go out and work with decision makers and VP of benefits and brokers, we've got the most requested voluntary benefit. We have an employee benefits division. We have small business. We have supplements. I'm going to encompass everything in a very, very soft but professional way in that meeting, as you're doing and as you've always done. And guess what? Melissa Wilder can come out of that meeting and go, man, you complimented my strengths and interests. A networker can come out and go, you complimented my strengths and interests. And maybe that part-time homemaker who just wants to make $500 a month goes, you complimented my interests. So, guys, I encourage you, please, please, please get in the class with Melissa, get in the training, listen to her words, listen to her language. You're going to see that she complements what I've said for many years. I'm complimenting what she says, but sharpen that axe. Iron sharpens iron. So, you know, Melissa, I hope maybe we can have a follow-up to this because there's just so much here that is so solid, and based on that travel schedule, I'll give you time to breathe and we'll come back at you later. So
You
we
bet.
we really appreciate you. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Gus, if you don't mind, I haven't had a chance to meet you, an engineer in IT, and if you don't mind, you can maybe share a little bit of your background for all of the team here. And I don't, repetition's the mother of skills. So, I think and I think Melissa hit it, and I think it's okay to hit it again. If I'm sitting in front of a brand new member, what are the key sets of criteria that I should have? I mean, we understand name and
Yep.
and properly how to have that name. We understand social security number. We understand address is critical. We've been struggling in the organization. I've taken a lot of calls with the authentication process to the point where we're having to three-way the member in. That's the last thing we want to do. I don't want to take a decision maker for a company and have to three-way them in. They're just going to go, forget it. I've got a two-way authentication with the competition. I'm done. And we all know that story. I mean, fine. You don't want to go back to the competition. They don't do what we do. So anyhow, any thoughts you have and any advice you might give the team here? And thanks for joining. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you as well. And hello to all the team there. So I've been just a little bit of my background. I've been with PPLSI now coming up on 3 years. I've been a software developer and engineer all my life, from big companies to little companies and everything in between. And so my life really has been software and computers and all this good fun thing from way back in the days. And that's another story for a beer. Melissa hit it right on the head. I mean, those are the things you need. You need name, and it's got to be the real name. So, like you all introduced me here as Gus. I'm not Gus to the banks, to the credit cards. My real name is different. And so when I sign up, I've got to use that real name in the middle initial and all those kind of good fun things. Dashes, hyphens in the name do occasionally cause problems because a lot of times what we're really doing is we're going to the credit bureau, in this case, Experian, and it's really how the credit bureau and the IRS and the government, how they really see you as your name there. And a lot of stuff gets stripped out. And so that making that as simple and as clear as possible is a big step one. The address, yes, post office boxes don't work. And the other part of it is I can't really help you if I'm trying to, if something important to you is keeping track of sex offenders in the area, well, your PO box isn't going to help. Your address will. And that's also what's going to match on loans and all the other kinds of things that we're looking for out on the dark web and everywhere else. Phone number, social security number, the full 9-digit social security number. We still get some in that are like the last 4 or something. And it's like, yeah, that's not going to work. You really need the big one to get the full benefit. And then obviously email address, especially for those folks that sell into business solutions, into groups, not the business's email address, not the business's phone number. You really need the individuals for the full benefit and for that to work. And we all know, KBAs are kind of a pain. Yes, I did own a black Mustang way back in my past lifetime, but would I remember that as I'm being asked those questions and filling out that information? Sometimes yes and sometimes no. And so with the work that I'm doing, and Melissa's right, I literally have been making the coding changes this week to expand that, to give us that fallback where, one, we're going to extend it. There's really 2 things going on here. One, right now, if you fill KBA, we put up a form that basically says, hey, call in and we'll help you. And the reality is we can delay that some. It doesn't have to be a one and done. And so we can give that a day or two. And sometimes just coming back the next day and refilling that out, you'll get right past it and you'll get right in and we're done. If it fails again, we can get you to the secondary where again, we're doing a more modern thing there with email and phone, and you go in and you get the one-time password, and that's enough to authenticate to the credit bureau that yes, it's really Gus, it's really John, okay, good. And then we're going to move on and in from there. And so we're going to really try to make that call in and talk to a person third place as opposed to first or second. And let's see. And then honestly, there's the comment I just want to mention a little bit there, too much, too fast, too early, and kind of scaring some people and stuff. There's with just that information that we've talked about tonight, if your customer does nothing else, there's a tremendous amount of information that we can monitor there. Give us more, we can monitor more, but it's a great start. It's a great safety net, maybe is the way to say it, of like, hey, just with this information, you're protected much more than the person next to you that doesn't have the service. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about it too. And I get to build it every day, which is a load of fun.
Yeah, well, thank you, Gus. One of the things that I'm hearing and that I'm liking is that you guys are, I think maybe finally, and I could be wrong, so you're finally getting a chance to hear from us a little bit. What we're experiencing, some of the things we're seeing. A question that I did ask a gentleman on a call that Melissa and I had last week was, why don't we use the driver's license number as part of that authentication process? Is that just not something credit bureaus and the IRS or government recognizes to the extent? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, the answer there is no. And it's kind of interesting. And I see that, yeah, knowledge-based authentication. Yeah, we all love the acronyms. So if I spout an acronym you don't know, slap me and I'll tell you what it means. But yeah, driver's license doesn't seem to be a big one that they fall back onto these days. And so it's kind of a narrow set of things. Now, the interesting thing, as I understand it, a lot of the credit bureaus, well, there's the three big, there technically are a number more, but a lot of them are moving away from this knowledge-based authentication because I think they also see it as a time sink. You've got to answer that question. If you get it wrong, then it comes back to them. And so, that's one of the reasons why one of our other big bureaus, Equifax, is our fallback mechanism. And they've moved away from the KBA. And so they're doing if you got to give us a good phone number, give us a good email, we can ensure that you're based on that information and going forward.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear because I mean those KBAs are, I mean, they're a pain in the ass. Let me just say it.
Yeah, they're weird.
I don't remember what I remember my first car, but I don't think I ever told those authorities what my first car. Anyhow,
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, this has been good. This has been very healthy. I'm probably going to ask for a rebound to come back again once I kind of rally with the team a little bit. Melissa, let me ask you one more quick question before we kind of wrap it up.
Sure.
When is your next class? Are any of them recorded? And where can we as a team find the information? I've been in LS Engage looking for different ways to register and see when the next class is coming up, but either I'm missing it or I'm just looking in the wrong area.
So with the Regional Sales and Training Council that I have, as a matter of fact, there's a few of them on your team on the call here this evening. We're hosting them live across the country. So you can go into LS Engage to resources, go down to small business, small group, and there's a whole calendar of live events. John, I have to tell you, the first 6 weeks of this year, we trained over 1,000 associates live just in those classes. So stoked about that. And then if by chance, because we don't have trainers in every state yet, and we're not able to reach everybody live. So if by chance we don't have a training coming in your market, if by chance that, whatever, like religious purposes, medical purposes, you can't get to that live class, then we will do virtuals. And so what we ask you to do is email full service training at pplsi.com, full service training at pplsi.com. Put your name on that virtual waiting list, and we try to do virtual classes twice a month so that we can keep up with the associates who want that training as well. But for whatever reason, like I said, just there's not a live event there yet, or whatever other reason.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay.
the tour that Darnell and I are doing really promotes and edifies it. We still do have, we just finished our 6th one. We have Toronto coming up, not this weekend, next weekend. And then we also still have Charlotte, North Carolina, and Atlanta, Georgia. I know there's been some discussions about trying to get us to extend it to a few more cities. So I don't know if that's going to happen. But my goodness, if you all can drive into any of those events, we would love to have you there. The Maryland event we just had, I know Teresa Johnson's on here. She was in attendance. It was just electrifying. We had probably 240, 250 people in the room. And there was not one person in 5 hours. It's 5 hours that myself and Darnell train on. We do the presentation itself. And by the way, the regular presentation is not the regular presentation. It's a full service presentation. And then we take a break, just like a Super Saturday. And we go, right, I do an hour and 20-minute training. We take a break to do some recognition. And then Darnell does an hour and 20-minute training. I train more about how to sell and recruit more to the wheel. And Darnell talks about casting a big net and building a big team by doing so. And so it just really complements each other. But there's also another training that I don't want any of you all to forget, and that is the sales masterclass.
Right.
And traditionally that's the 3rd Saturday of the month. But I think it might be the 4th Saturday. That is on the calendar, I do know, for the month. But what I've been doing, John, is I've been taking the APT part, the advanced product training part of the full service training, and I've been teaching it in bite sizes, and it's recorded. I've been using the same resources. I created something called product reference sheets. John, you're going to love these. These are cheat sheets to the contracts. Okay. So it tells you what are the requirements and eligibility to sell. There's 13 of them because we have 13 products. So each one has its own. What's the requirements and eligibility to sell this product? Who can own it? What's it cost? How do I enroll it? And what are all those details to know that trips me up when I sell it? So, so I've been using those to actually train the APTs. I'm sorry, the sales master classes. And even though I've been doing it almost 2 years now, these last 2 sales master classes that I've done using the same things we do in the training have been the best. I've taken like this past month, I took the details to know, the cheat sheet of the legal plan, and said, okay, we cannot do any business in our personal legal plan. So what happens if we're an entrepreneur? What happens if we're a business owner? Okay, so let's go to the HBS. So we covered the HBS and what that will cover and how that works. Oh, but you can't qualify for that. Okay, now where do I take you? We take you to the Essentials Plus and Pro. So we build on this. The month before, I did the same thing. I took the family plan and said, hey, there's an exclusion in the family plan for Title II for traffic. No income producing, no commercial vehicles. So how do we cover them? We moved to rideshare and delivery. This is how we cover rideshare and delivery. This is who we can cover. This is how it works. Okay, oh, that doesn't work for you? Let's go to commercial drivers. So baby steps, right? Of where a certain person, based on their life, their lifestyle, their background, their profession, how do we cover them the best? And those sales masterclasses, John, they're really just 60 minutes. And then I take 30 minutes of Q&A, but it's a total of 90 minutes. Both of those, all of them are recorded, but those 2, most definitely, if you're going to watch 1 or 2 of them, go into Ellis Engage, go into training, go to Sales Masterclass, pull those up, and kind of get a feel of what we're doing. Kind of check it out and see how we're training today. It's just a little different.
Perfect. You answered my question. I mean, so guys, I hope you wrote it down. go into LS Engage, go into small biz, small group resources, small business, small group. And that's what one of my questions, Melissa, is, is it recorded? And so thank you for recording it. And I'll also, Melissa, tell you this is putting that virtual registration together is critical, absolutely critical.
Yeah, we don't want to
And-
leave anyone out.
No, I
Mhm.
know, no, and I know you don't. Gloria Houghton is up in Alberta, and it was like, I think, a 6-hour drive or whatever, probably in Canada, 20-hour drive to get to Toronto. So she's able to plug in, virtually. And every bit of this is like, I'm just going to go straight to scripture. Iron sharpens iron, guys. And Melissa's the one that's going to help us sharpen that iron, and to have it broken down in bite sizes is the simpler we keep it, the more it duplicates. And so, fantastic. All right. I think it's a wrap. I think we've got, what we needed for tonight. You guys have been a tremendous blessing. Gus, nice to meet you. Thank you so much. Will we see you in Oklahoma City?
I'm trying to work on that. I'd actually like to get up there and talk to a few folks while I'm there. So if nothing else, I could sit there and help folks navigate the systems and software if folks have problems. So I got to
Well,
work
tell
on
them
it a little bit.
Tell them you've been requested. Okay, just tell them you've been
All right,
requested.
I'll do
We
that.
want to see you. And Melissa, I know we'll see you in Oklahoma City, and if not sooner, we'll see you out on the road. But appreciate both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks to the Shield
Thank
Nation
you.
team. Fantastic job. I hope everybody got good notes, and look for a follow-up next Monday on these specific topics as we talk more and open it up for a Q&A. So
Thanks,
appreciate
John.
you. Thanks,
Thanks,
Melissa.
guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Gus.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Thank
Take
you.
care, everybody.
Thank you.
Awesome, awesome.